I look up to Rihanna. She's done an amazing job, and I hope to one day be on that level and even bigger, you know?
Oh, yes.
Because I really believe.
Rihanna was like, I just wanted to be her.
So my parents were like, be realistic. Like, you need to work. This can be a side, a hobby.
All of y'all my fat pay, y'all make enough money off of me.
This whole situation between Tyla and Rihanna just exploded. And it's not only about music, it's about power, image, and who really holds the crown in the global pop world.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
Ooh.
Aaliyah. Rihanna was like, I just wanted to be her.
Tyla has finally let some things slip, and fans swear it sounds like shade aimed directly at Rihanna, hinting that Riri's shadow might be blocking her shine. Now people are convinced the tension is real, and the whispers are turning into loud conversations online. That line, ooh, make me sweat, make me holla, make me lose my breath.
Have you met her yet?
Not yet. Hey, I'm nervous, but hopefully one day.
Fans are dissecting it like it's a hidden jab. But before we dive into the chaos, let's set the scene properly. Because this isn't just Tyla versus Rihanna. This is the music industry itself playing chess with two women's careers at the highest level. Tyla didn't just show up, she crashed into the spotlight like a thunderstorm when her track Water went viral on TikTok back in 2023. That song didn't just trend, it climbed straight into the Billboard Hot 100, and she even snagged a Grammy for Best African Music Performance. Overnight, she went from a rising star to a major threat in the industry, and that's exactly where the drama starts. She wasn't just another breakout star, Tyla was crowned South Africa's global pop princess, but the moment that title started circulating, the drama rolled in fast and messy. Fans immediately noticed the similarities and began dragging her online, comparing her every move to Rihanna's. The outfits, the swagger, even her hairstyles, like one look in particular that went viral, had people saying she was straight up cosplaying Rihanna's old eras. And let's be real, the internet is ruthless. They didn't hold back with the labels, copycat, industry plant, and her team is running Rihanna's playbook bar for bar, word for word. But Tyla didn't just laugh it off. Early on, she made it clear, saying, Rihanna is Rihanna. It's a compliment, but at the same time, I'm my own artist. I'm Tyla, and I know as people get to know me and my music, they will see me as just Tyla. On the surface, it sounds respectful, but between the lines, that's her politely snapping back, basically saying, stop trapping me in Rihanna's shadow because I'm tired of being treated like I don't have my own lane. Then came the post that had everyone shook. Tyla hinted at people secretly recording her conversations, writing, talking to me about secretly recording is so weird. I can see the lens, baby. Fans immediately took it as her blasting the industry, and maybe even Rihanna herself for trying to keep her boxed in as the next Riri. That's when things got really messy. And let's not act like Rihanna was silent either. Around the same time, Riri posted one of her infamous cryptic quotes on Instagram. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. The internet went wild, instantly connecting the dots. Was she warning Tyla to stay in her lane, or was she simply brushing off the idea that anyone could ever come close to replacing her? Either way, the timing had people convinced this wasn't just coincidence, it was shade on shade. Sure, Rihanna's post could have been about anybody, but fans weren't buying that. The deeper you look, the clearer it gets. Especially when you see how Epic Records has been rolling out Tyla's career. The marketing, the image building, the timing of the drops, it feels like the industry is setting Tyla up as the next big thing. And that's exactly where things get sticky. Because if Rihanna refuses to co-sign, or worse, if she's throwing subtle shade, that silence alone could be blocking Tyla's growth in ways nobody wants to admit. Think about it. From the viral explosion of Water, to the endless copycat accusations, to the whispers about industry sabotage, this saga has every ingredient for a full-blown pop war. And fans are convinced Rihanna is quietly making moves behind the scenes to make sure Tyla never reaches her full potential. That's the kind of speculation that's turning the music game into a battlefield. When Tyla dropped ADA in 2023, nobody, and I mean nobody, expected it to go global the way it did. That track blended piano, R&B, and Afro beats in a way that just hit different, a sound too fresh to ignore. But here's the kicker. It wasn't only the song that sent it viral, it was the performance that came with it. Tyla and her choreographer posted that TikTok where she's sliding across the floor, pouring water over herself, and hitting those Bacardi-inspired dance moves that popped. Within weeks, the entire world was trying to copy it, and that's when people started realizing she wasn't just a viral moment, she was building an empire. The water challenge was everywhere, from TikTok to Instagram, from street corners to stadiums. Overnight, Tyla went from being a local Southern African star to a full-blown international name. By January 2024, the song wasn't just hot, it was blazing, cracking the Billboard Hot 100's top 10 and peaking at number 7. And the cherry on top? Tyla made history by taking home the very first Grammy for Best African Music Performance. Just like that, she wasn't just a rising artist, she was the face of African pop on the global stage. But when success hits this fast, you already know the side eyes come just as quick. That's exactly when the Rihanna comparisons started pouring in, and fans were ruthless with it. It wasn't only because Tyla was young, fresh, and rocking high fashion fits, it was the entire rollout that people said felt familiar. The swagger, the sultry red carpet entrances, even the messy hair flips dripping with attitude. Fans swore it was deja vu. One viral post on X summed it up with a sharp punch. What in the good girl gone bad is going on here? Now she's in her new Rihanna era. Another added, I'm sorry, but if I was Rihanna, I'd be annoyed and taken aback. Tyla needs to find her own identity immediately. And honestly, you can see why people said that. The visuals, the vibe, the timing, it all screamed Riri 2.0, and that's when the comparisons went from compliments to accusations. Rihanna built her empire as the cool Caribbean girl from Barbados with crossover power nobody could deny. And now here comes Tyla, branded as the cool girl from South Africa, walking a nearly identical path. Even the industry rollout feels like a copy-paste playbook. Back then, Rihanna had Jay-Z and Def Jam pushing her into superstardom. And now Tyla's got Epic Records throwing millions into slick viral campaigns to make sure she's the next big thing. But here's where the label politics get messy. Insiders have been whispering that Epic has been flooding TikTok and Twitter with paid campaigns as far back as 2022, long before Tyla was a household name. Her single Been Thinking didn't just appear out of nowhere, it mysteriously landed on timelines everywhere, even for people who had no clue who she was at the time. That kind of push doesn't just happen. It's industry muscle working overtime. And then that same machine kicked into full throttle with Water, and it worked flawlessly. Suddenly, people who had never even typed her name into a search bar were seeing her content everywhere. That's when the whispers started growing louder. Industry plant. The idea that Tyla wasn't rising organically but was being strategically manufactured by the label became part of the conversation, and it hasn't gone away since. But here's the twist. Normally, being compared to Rihanna is seen as a blessing. It puts you in an elite class, shoulder to shoulder with one of the most iconic women in pop culture. But in Tyla's case, those comparisons are a double-edged sword, cutting into her success while lifting her up at the same time. For Tyla, though, what should have been a blessing is starting to feel more like a curse. She's openly admitted that Rihanna was her inspiration, especially because she never believed a non-American girl could actually break through on the global stage. In her interview magazine feature, Tyla said, "I do remember loving the story of Rihanna because she came from outside of America. It made me feel like my dream was achievable because, like you said, it's not something that happens every day for us." That's the twist. She's flattered, but she also wants out of Rihanna's shadow. In her Cosmopolitan interview, she doubled down, saying, "At the same time, I am my own artist. I'm Tyla, and I know as people get to know me and my music, they will see me as just Tyla." Translation, she's tired of being labeled the new Rihanna, and she's not shy about saying it anymore. But here's where it gets messy. Whether she likes it or not, Tyla's career trajectory is following Rihanna's early grind step for step. The rise, the styling, the label backing, the fashion moments, it's almost uncanny. And some folks believe it's not an accident at all. They think it's by design. Just look at the way Tyla is being styled at major fashion events. From the bold fits to the daring statements on red carpets, her image is being shaped in a way that mirrors Rihanna's blueprint to stardom. When Tyla showed up at the 2024 Met Gala in a custom Balmain sand dress, jaws dropped and traffic literally stopped. Then she pulled a complete switch up at the MTV EMAs with a vintage Roberto Cavalli, serving that same rebellious yet sexy energy Rihanna used to dominate red carpets with back in her prime. The comparisons weren't just whispers anymore, they were front-page headlines. And when Anna Wintour herself handpicked Tyla to be on the 2025 Met Gala host committee, the narrative practically wrote itself. Rihanna 2.0 had officially arrived. But here's the catch. Being labeled the next Rihanna comes with baggage. If Rihanna even feels like Tyla is creeping into her lane, things could turn icy fast. And trust me, Rihanna isn't exactly known for staying silent when it comes to protecting her legacy. That's why the jealousy whispers started circulating louder than ever. Did Rihanna really see Tyla as a threat? Was she secretly annoyed by the constant comparisons? Fans are convinced yes, especially after Rihanna dropped that cryptic Instagram post, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." To her Navy, it was just a classic Riri affirmation. But to everyone watching the Tyla drama unfold, it read like a subtle warning, a reminder to Tyla, the labels, and the entire industry that Rihanna is untouchable and not about to be replaced. But before we dig deeper into Rihanna's possible shade, we have to talk about why the industry keeps pushing this narrative so hard. because when you look at Tyla's come up step by step, it feels almost manufactured to follow Rihanna's exact blueprint, like someone is deliberately setting up this rivalry. I'm not even gonna lie, some of Tyla's looks really do give deja vu. At times it's straight up Pon de Replay era vibes, other times it's channeling full-on good girl gone bad energy. And that's exactly where the comparison stopped being cute and turned into a full-on battleground. See, Rihanna's been in this game too long not to recognize when someone is being groomed as her replacement. She's seen it all before. Every few years there's a new Rihanna hyped up by labels, bloggers, and fashion houses claiming some fresh face is the future of pop. But this time, this one feels different. This one feels personal. And that's why people keep going back to that cryptic post Rihanna dropped, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I knock in the face of those who think otherwise." To her fans, it was just another Riri gem. But to the internet detectives, it was a warning shot fired loud and clear, a coded message to the industry, maybe even to Tyla herself, saying she's untouchable, unshakable, and no copycat, no matter how much they're pushed, can ever dethrone her. One fan went off online, writing, "I don't think Tyla's failure is her fault. It's the people on her team and her fans who ruined her career. They made her think she was more talented than she really was. They tried to gaslight us into supporting her just because she was brown and could do a little yang around the house." Brutal words, but the internet rarely holds back. Another comment piled on. "I'm so happy people are starting to realize Tyla and her team stole Rihanna's looks, her attitude, everything, then shipped it to the USA and tried to sell it as brand new. Now everyone sees her as a copycat with light-skinned privilege. The claws are out and fans are drawing blood with these takes." But here's where it gets tricky. Tyla herself has been playing both sides of the fence. On one hand, she praises Rihanna every chance she gets. She told British Vogue, "Coming from somewhere outside the States, I really looked up to her. She made me realize there's another way." That's admiration, no doubt. But on the other hand, her tone has started to shift just enough to raise eyebrows. When she said, "Rihanna is Rihanna, but I'm my own artist. People will see me as Tyla." It sounded polite on the surface. But fans swear it carried a hint of shade, especially when paired with that post where she complained about someone secretly recording her conversations. That move had people convinced she wasn't just venting. She was firing subliminal shots at the industry, maybe even Rihanna herself. People immediately started reading Tyla's post as her calling out industry insiders, maybe even Rihanna's camp, for trying to catch her slipping. Whether that's true or not, it poured gasoline on the narrative that something shady is brewing behind the scenes. And here's where it gets even deeper. Rihanna isn't just a pop star anymore. She's a billionaire mogul with Savage x Fenty, Fenty Beauty, and a reputation for being untouchable. Plus, she's a whole mama of 3 now. Her empire goes way beyond the charts. So if Tyla's rise even indirectly threatens that legacy, you better believe there could be some quiet pushback. Labels, fashion houses, media execs, they all know Rihanna still runs the table. If she's not feeling Tyla, doors could slam shut before Tyla even gets a chance to walk through them. And that's why the jealousy talk isn't just about emotions anymore. Fans believe it might be strategic. They point to the fact that Tyla, despite all her buzz, still hasn't landed certain big-name collabs that should have been easy wins after a Grammy-winning viral smash. No Drake feature, no Beyoncé co-sign, and of course, no Rihanna duet. For an artist in Tyla's position, that's unusual. And it has people wondering if calls are being made behind the scenes to make sure she doesn't rise too high, too fast. Stranger things have happened in this industry, and honestly, it's not far-fetched at all when you remember just how cutthroat the music game really is. A resurfaced 2005 clip of Rihanna on the Tyra Banks show still haunts fans to this day. In it, Riri joked that Jay-Z once told her there were only 2 ways to leave the building, either through the door with a deal signed or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
There are 2 ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal sign or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
That chilling story has always been a reminder of how brutal the industry can be behind the glitz and glam. And now, with Tyla being branded Miss Rihanna 2.0, people can't help but wonder if Rihanna is paying that same pressure forward, keeping her throne secure by making sure Tyla never rises too high. But before diving deeper into the Sabotage whispers, we've got to break down how Tyla's entire image seems to have been carefully manufactured, from her looks to her sound to the exact way her label positions her. Nothing feels random. The receipts paint a picture of a career rollout that looks almost too perfect, too polished, too familiar. Because once you spot the formula, it's impossible to unsee. The Rihanna blueprint stamped all over Tyla's come up. From the very start, Tyla wasn't moving like some independent artist grinding her way up from the bottom. She had a full-blown machine behind her. Epic Records was pushing her heavy from day one, and when you trace how they marketed her, the Rihanna blueprint becomes hard to ignore. Back in 2022, Tyla wasn't mainstream yet, but somehow her single Been Thinking kept popping up on timelines everywhere. Fans later pieced it together and realized Epic was allegedly paying major TikTok and Twitter accounts to post her clips, slip her songs into trends, and flood people's feeds. Whether you asked for it or not, Tyla was going to be on your screen, and that's exactly why so many called it inorganic. Because it didn't feel like a natural come-up, it felt engineered. By the time water dropped, the campaign was airtight. Every other For You page had somebody dancing, sliding, or pouring water just like Tyla. Everybody's Explore feed was wall-to-wall with her clips, and influencers were hitting that bop, bop, bop choreo on repeat. People swore they never even searched her name, yet there she was, recommended nonstop. The algorithm was basically hijacked, and Epic made sure Tyla's rise wasn't just a moment, it was a takeover. But here's the thing, the Rihanna comparisons just keep getting louder, and when you line it all up, it's hard not to see why. When Rihanna first broke out in 2005 with Pon de Replay, Def Jam and Jay-Z branded her as this exotic, fashionable, cool girl next door who had the power to cross over globally. And now, Tyla's rollout looks nearly identical. Rihanna had Barbados. Tyla has South Africa. Rihanna had Melissa Ford, her bestie and creative right hand from day one. Tyla's got Tato, her creative director riding shotgun since the start. Rihanna moved from her Caribbean roots straight into global pop dominance. And Tyla, she's being lined up for the exact same journey, starting with Amapiano and Afrobeat vibes, then carefully crossing into mainstream pop once the audience is locked in. Even the fashion trajectory feels like deja vu. Remember Rihanna's early rise? Playful, sexy performances, then bigger-than-life looks that turned her into a red carpet killer. She went from Pon de Replay to Met Gala stunners, from VMA stages to iconic Roberto Cavalli gowns. And now Tyla's on that same path, from playful, water-drenched TikToks to couture looks at MTV EMAs, and now a Met Gala host committee invite in 2025. That's not coincidence. That's label branding 101. But here's where it gets controversial. Some critics argue Epic purposefully chose Tyla because of her racial ambiguity in the US market. In pop music, non-American stars who are light-skinned or ethnically mixed are often marketed as more palatable to mainstream audiences. And that's exactly why people say Tyla isn't just being built as a star, she's being engineered as Rihanna's replacement. Commentators online pointed out something that really struck a nerve. Before Tyla, most African women breaking into the US mainstream, like Thames and Era Star, were darker-skinned. Tyla's lighter complexion, polished Americanized accent, and carefully styled image made her easier to package for global audiences who weren't used to embracing African women on that scale. Now, Thames definitely had her moment, especially with that Drake-featured smash Wait For You, but Tyla's rollout felt like a whole different machine at work. Even her personality arc seemed crafted from scratch. Fans noticed how fast she transformed. One minute, she was the playful teenager doing cutesy TikTok dances. The next, she was a sultry, high-fashion superstar dripping in couture. The shift felt almost overnight, and critics began saying she doesn't really have one consistent identity. Instead, she morphs into whatever lane her label needs her in at the moment. And that's the problem. If your entire brand is built on comparisons to Rihanna, then those comparisons don't just disappear, they stick. Fans, critics, and insiders alike keep calling it out, and it's become the defining narrative of Tyla's career. Now picture Rihanna watching all of this unfold. She knows the game inside and out because she lived it, and now she's seeing a younger artist being rolled out with her exact formula, right down to the image shifts and fashion evolution. That's why the jealousy speculation doesn't feel far-fetched at all. It feels inevitable. And let's be clear, it's not just Tyla borrowing Rihanna's looks, it's Epic Records actively trying to recreate Rihanna's career from scratch. And if you're Rihanna, the last thing you want is the industry quietly grooming someone as your replacement. That's why this goes beyond simple fan chatter. If Rihanna feels her identity is being cloned and Tyla feels suffocated under Rihanna's shadow, then the tension isn't just personal, and it's structural. This whole Tyla versus Rihanna conversation really started exploding once the shade began flying on social media. At first, it was little things, cryptic captions, sly reposts, subtle inside jokes dropped in comments, but fans swore those moves were aimed directly at each other. And in today's industry, shade spreads faster than the music itself, fueling non-stop debates across timelines. Now, Tyla isn't the type to call someone out directly. She's not messy like that, but her posts almost always spark conversation, and the fans do the rest. She's doubled down in interviews too, making it clear she just wants her own lane. In Cosmopolitan, she explained, "People want to tie me to something familiar to them, cool. But at the end of the day, we're doing something new." On the surface, it sounds polite, but in the middle of all this chaos, that line hit like a clapback. Tyla's line about doing something no one's done before didn't sound shady on paper, but the delivery, fans took it as a subtle jab, basically saying, "I'm not copying, I'm innovating." And while Tyla was trying to carve out her lane, Rihanna was staying in character, never naming names but always knowing how to stir the pot. That Instagram post, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper," wasn't just some random faith quote. For the Navy, Rihanna's loyal fan base, that was their queen flexing, telling the world she's untouchable. But Tyla's fans read it differently. To them, it was Rihanna low-key admitting she saw Tyla as a threat, and that split created a firestorm online. Endless debates about whether Rihanna was shading or just preaching. Hashtags flew, think pieces dropped, and the timeline was in flames. Then things hit a whole new level when Cardi B jumped in. She couldn't stand watching Tyla get dragged nonstop with the Rihanna comparisons. Cardi snapped, saying, "Every single time I scroll on my TikTok, there's a video of her and people left talking-ish, and it's like, god dang, what do you want her to effing do? Cut her effing veins, y'all." That was raw. Cardi didn't sugarcoat a thing, and her words hit like a grenade. She wasn't just defending Tyla, she was calling out the entire toxic fan war and even the industry itself for setting Tyla up to fail by constantly boxing her into Rihanna's shadow. Suddenly, this wasn't just a Tyla vs. Rihanna conversation anymore. It had turned into a full-blown celebrity intervention. And of course, fans did what fans always do. They turned the shade into a full-on war. Some accused Tyla of being obsessed with Rihanna's style, claiming every red carpet look and performance was a recycled Riri moment. Others flipped the script, swearing Rihanna was the one feeling pressed, jealous even, because she hasn't dropped new music in years while Tyla's out here dominating charts and stealing spotlight on fashion carpets. One viral comment cut deep. Tyla's success ain't organic. They manufactured her whole brand to be Rihanna light. Of course, Rihanna's annoyed. Nobody wants to be replaced in their own lifetime. Brutal. But another fan came through with a softer take. "I love how people keep saying Tyla copies Rihanna, and instead of being bitter, Tyla still lists Rihanna as one of her inspirations. That's how you know she's secure and genuine." But at the end of the day, both sides were throwing gasoline on the fire. What started as a so-called innocent comparison snowballed into a storyline of sabotage, jealousy, and power moves. And the real kicker? This isn't just about shade, it's about Tyla's future. In the industry, shade isn't petty, it's strategic, and it directly affects opportunities and money. If Rihanna doesn't vibe with Tyla, fashion houses could hesitate to book her. Certain collabs could mysteriously dry up. A Drake feature, a Beyonce co-sign, those doors could stay locked if Rihanna's shadow looms too large. That's why fans believe Rihanna's jealousy, if it exists, isn't just emotional. It could be actively slowing Tyla's climb. And Tyla knows it. That's why she keeps hammering her individuality in every interview, because if she doesn't break free from Rihanna's ghost, she risks being remembered as nothing more than a copycat in couture. And that's exactly where things get dangerous. Because when you mix industry politics with personal egos, it stops being playful shade and starts looking like sabotage. Some insiders even swear Rihanna might be pulling those strings behind the scenes. And whether that's fact or just speculation, the drama is now bigger than Tyla versus Rihanna. Remember when Rihanna sang, "Make me feel like I'm the only girl in the world"? Well, in this case, she doesn't have to lift a finger to keep that crown. What's happening here is a full-on clash between an established icon and a carefully manufactured successor, and the industry loves it. Because let's be real, the music business thrives on rivalries. From Nicki versus Cardi to Beyonce versus Ciara, these storylines keep fans locked in, buying records, streaming nonstop, and fueling endless debates. Tyla versus Rihanna is just the latest, but this time the stakes are global. Tyla represents a new wave of African artists breaking into the US mainstream, while Rihanna represents the gatekeeper, the one person powerful enough to open those doors or keep them shut. And here's the real danger. If Rihanna sees Tyla as a threat, she doesn't even have to say her name. Rihanna's influence across music, fashion, and billion-dollar business deals is enough to quietly block collaborations, restrict sponsorships, and stall momentum without ever being blamed. And when those doors close, the headlines won't say Rihanna blocked her, they'll say Tyla fell off. But not everyone thinks this is all Rihanna's doing. Some critics argue the situation is way more complicated than just jealousy. Tyla's team might have played themselves by leaning so hard into Rihanna's formula. By copying that blueprint too closely, they basically invited the comparisons that could end up weighing her down. And yet, the whispers just won't stop. Because Rihanna hasn't dropped an album in nearly a decade, while Tyla is already Grammy certified, sitting front row at Paris Fashion Week, and hosting award shows with Pharrell and DJ Khaled. That's enough to make anyone look twice. This Tyla versus Rihanna drama isn't just another stan war, it's a case study in how the industry recycles its stars. When one legend slows down, the machine starts building the next one. But here's the danger. If you remind people too much of the OG, you'll never truly escape their shadow. For Tyla, her entire future hangs on one thing, carving out her own identity. If she keeps letting the new Rihanna label stick, she'll always play second place. But if she flips the script, maybe with a fresh sound, maybe with raw storytelling that only she can deliver, she could carve out a lane Rihanna can't touch. And that's exactly why this feud matters. Because Tyla is standing at a crossroads. She's either about to rise into the next global superstar or become another casualty of industry sabotage. The stakes aren't just about egos, they're about survival. Tyla's fighting to prove she's not a clone, while Rihanna's reminding the world she's still the only girl in the world. And until one of them finally addresses this tension head-on, fans are gonna keep fueling the fire. The only question left is, will Tyla break free or will Rihanna's shadow swallow her career hold of it? So drop your thoughts in the comments below, let me know where you stand in this drama, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Because this storm is far from over and you won't want to miss what's coming next.